I found this interesting velvet box with a black object inside among my dad's things after he passed away. The black object seems to be made of something like graphite since it left black marks on her hand. I thought it might be a sharpening tool for an old razor, but I'm not sure. Does anyone have any ideas? What you have is a pocket hand warmer, and it's an older model too. These hand warmers were commonly used for camping and fishing. To use it, you light the rod in the middle, which functions like a small coal. Once it's lit, you close the hand warmer, place it in your pocket, and occasionally blow on it to keep it burning. I found this item while helping a friend clean out a house. At first, I thought it might be a rock polisher or part of a tea set, but I'm not sure. Does anyone have any idea what this could be? What you have is a small steam engine toy, specifically a Willisco D6 model. To operate it, you add water and 1 or 2 Esbit fuel tablets, light them up, and watch as the steam engine comes to life. This model was popular in the 1960s and often came with various add-ons such as a saw, a hammer, or a water pump. The Willisco D6 steam engine features a highly polished and nickel-plated brass boiler and an oscillating cylinder. It has a water level indicator designed as a sight glass, allowing you to monitor the water level during operation. The boiler capacity is 135 cubic centimeters with a size of 100 by 45 millimeters. I came across this drill hammer thing in a machinist group. It looks like a Jacob's chuck on the left side, but I have no idea what it actually is. Does anyone know what this could be? What you came across is a window glass cutting tool called a splitter. I found a patent for this tool dated May 17, 1949 under the name George Philippe. This tool is designed for cutting glass sheets and features a diamond cutter head that can tilt and rotate while being guided along a straight edge. The design allows the user to change their grip and position while keeping the cutter pressed against the straight edge, ensuring a precise cut. The long handle helps the user reach the full length of the glass. I saw this large, barrel-like object hanging from a wire at my local town park. The wire is probably 15 to 18 feet off the ground, and the barrel itself is quite large. The wire is attached to 2 standalone telephone poles, and there are no other wires connected to them. They seem to exist solely to hold up this barrel. I can't figure out what this thing could be for. Does anyone know? What you saw is likely a piece of equipment used in a water ball competition. Water ball is a game where teams use fire hoses to push a 15-inch steel ball suspended on a cable over the opponent's side of the court. It's designed to help firefighters practice using nozzles and hoses, enhancing their firefighting skills. The game is played on a marked court with specific rules and safety measures, and teams compete in double elimination rounds, meaning a team is only out of the competition after losing twice. A person my family occasionally helps out was given this small vial and told it is an explosive. The vial, which appears to be made of glass or plastic, is a few centimeters tall and a couple of centimeters wide. It's filled with what looks like metal BBs and flat green circular objects. Does anyone know what this could be? It seems that someone took apart a shotgun shell, and what you have is likely the contents of that shell. The vial appears to contain shot, small metal balls, and smokeless propellant powder, which is different from traditional gunpowder. Smokeless powder is a chemical compound commonly used in modern ammunition. You can dispose of smokeless powder by burning it in an open and isolated area in small, shallow piles, no more than 1 inch deep. I received this item from a family friend. It's made of very heavy hardwood, but I'm unsure of its age. Does anyone know what this could be? It was found in northwest England. What you have is a half of a Viking chair. This unique and simple design is also known by several other names, such as a bog chair, African chair, stargazer chair, or X chair. It's been a popular build project for the Boy Scouts since the 1930s. The chair consists of just 2 pieces, a large board used as a backrest and a smaller board that slides through the backrest to serve as a seat. The angle of the Viking chair allows for comfortable sitting and leaning back while relaxing. We've been trying to figure out what this item is all night. It slides open and has a small piece of foam inside. There's also a hole that allows you to access the foam without opening it. Does anyone know what this could be? This item is a key fob for a programmable radio frequency identification entry system made by Philips. The small piece of foam inside helps securely hold the RFID chip in place. These fobs are commonly used for secure access to buildings or restricted areas. Hold on just a moment. I really appreciate you watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support means a lot and helps me keep making awesome videos. Now let's get back to the action. I found this red box in an old house built in 1914. It has the marking Siemens Austria and features small gold pins inside that spin when you pull the red cord. The pins are slightly offset, suggesting they might be designed to wind something. Can anyone identify what this device is and its purpose? What you found is a razor blade sharpener. This device is used to sharpen double-edged razor blades, which have two holes in the middle. Here's how it works. You place the blade onto the posts that fit through the holes in the blade. When you close the case, it clamps the sharpening stones against the edge of both sides of the blade. The posts are offset on rotating circles, so as the circles rotate, the posts move the razor blade in a tiny circular motion against the sharpening stones. This movement allows the razor blade to be sharpened evenly on both sides. I found this ring in my backyard while doing gardening. After cleaning it, it doesn't look like a normal ring. Any ideas about what it might be? What you found is a mourning ring from the Georgian or early Victorian period. These rings were typically crafted from gold and enameled in black. They were often adorned with woven hair of the deceased, a common practice at the time. The initials on the ring likely belong to a deceased loved one. Your ring probably dates back to the 1820s to 1840s. During this era, mourning was a complex and socially significant process. The transition out of mourning was expected to be gradual and respectful. For instance, removing the mourning ring could signify that the wearer was beginning to find solace and ease in their grief. A sudden shift from deep black to bright colors was considered inappropriate and disrespectful to the deceased. Instead, the process of ending mourning attire was meant to be slow and graceful, reflecting a careful and respectful approach to grieving. I found some miniature metal ships at a garage sale, each around 3 inches long. A few of them have names like Hermes and Pilot written underneath. They appear to be British warships, but I can't tell if they are toys or collectibles. I haven't been able to find any information about them online. Can anyone help identify what they are? You've made quite a discovery. These are likely model ships used for naval wargaming, possibly following the rules from Fletcher Pratt's Naval Wargaming with Model Ships. Naval wargaming gained popularity in the 1930s and was often played on the floor. Pilot was a well-known brand of model ships. Until 1930, models were mainly made of wood. However, in Germany, two hobbyists, Friedrich Pelzer and Henning Kortzen, began experimenting with metal casting. By the early 1930s, they were producing spin-cast lead models under the Viking and Pilot labels. I found this while cleaning out an apartment. It's quite heavy, not sharp, and about the size of a palm. It has some kind of rope around the base, which seems to be for holding it. We found it while cleaning out our grandmother's home, and no one knows what it is. We've tried searching for it, but have no clue where to start. Can anyone help identify this item? The item you found is a jite, a blunt melee weapon used by police in Edo period Japan from 1603 to 1868. During this time, bringing a sword into the shogun's palace was a crime punishable by death, a rule that even applied to palace guards. To comply with this prohibition, various non-bladed weapons were used, and the jite became a prominent choice. It was highly effective and became a symbol of the guard's esteemed position. Interestingly, the jite frequently appears in anime as a weapon used by various characters. While cleaning out the attic, I came across this wooden spoon. It appears handmade, is about 20 centimeters long, and features markings on the handle as well as a hole in the top part. It's very lightweight. My grandparents probably brought it back from a trip to Tunisia. Does anyone know what this spoon is used for or its significance? This is a Yakuba double spoon, a symbol of hospitality in traditional African art. According to legend, this spoon represents the contrast between two distinct realms, the village with its people and animals, and the forest with its vegetation, animals, and spirits. The spoon was traditionally given to the most hospitable woman in the community. She would use it to serve food and wave it joyfully during dances, celebrating her role as a host. This item appears to be upside down but looks like a feeder or nester of some sort, attached to the top of a fence by the previous owner. It's filled with what seems to be neatly stacked pieces of wood or bamboo, hay, and tree branches. There is no discernible smell. What is this thing? What you found is a bee hotel designed to provide shelter for solitary pollinator bees and sometimes wasps. These insects typically nest in hollow plant stems, dead wood, or other natural cavities. A bee hotel mimics these conditions using hollow reeds or drilled holes in wood to create similar nesting sites. By adding such structures to an environment, bee hotels help support native bee and wasp populations by offering additional nesting resources. I found an item at a yard sale that looks like a thumb protector, but I'm not sure for what purpose. It's made of interlocking metal wire that's movable, similar to chainmail, but with loops instead of closed rings. It also has a leather strap with belt-like closures that would fit around the wrist. The metal part is about 5 inches long. Can anyone help identify what this is? Based on the information found, this item appears to be a thumb protector patented by Peter Waller in 1915. The patent specifies that it was designed for husking corn, but also mentions it is suitable for similar purposes. Given its design, it could also serve as a butcher's thumb guard, protecting the thumb from cuts while handling sharp tools or materials. What is this solid metal removable spike found in a New York hotel bathroom? It feels like it's made of aluminum and has a hole in the top that seems to have housed something. It attaches to a makeup table and is about 25 centimeters long. The item you found is a bud vase designed to hold a single flower, commonly used in public spaces. Its conical shape also acts as a theft deterrent, as the vase is useless without the specific hole in the table designed to hold it. I saw a metal downspout in Prague with an enormous bulge in the middle, seemingly made of the same material. Is this bulge caused by water freezing inside, or is it some sort of art installation? The object you found is actually part of a lesser-known art installation by renowned Czech sculptor David Cerny. Hidden away on a quieter street in Prague, this piece, titled Embryo, is mounted on a drain pipe on the facade of the Divadlo na Zabradlí Theater. It was installed on December 9, 2008, to commemorate the theater's 50th anniversary. If you pass by at night, you might notice the soft, glowing outline of what resembles a fetus, illuminated from within. Cerny, famous for his provocative and often controversial art, has many installations scattered throughout Prague, and Embryo is one of his more discreet, yet captivating works. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed a small, round, metal object embedded in my front porch. It's about a 1/4 inch in diameter, and I haven't been able to pry it out, though I've only tried using my bare hands so far. Does anyone know what this could be? The object you found is actually a bullet. The rifling marks along the sides are a clear indication. Specifically, it appears to be a full metal jacket bullet, which has a lead core encased in a copper alloy jacket. This design helps the bullet retain its shape and improves its penetration capability. I found this realistic-looking eyeball at a flea market. It might be made of glass and has 3 holes in the metal part. It's lightweight and about 2.5 inches in diameter. Does anyone know what this could be or what it's used for? What you have is a promotional keyring from a company that manufactures glass eyes for taxidermy. It appears to be a souvenir or giveaway item from a hunting convention, likely from the 1980s. The realistic-looking eyeball design is a clever way to showcase their product and attract attention at such events. This item was found among a set of silverware. It features a tip resembling a corkscrew. Although it's not sturdy enough to function as one, it seems to have a specific purpose for food service, but we haven't been able to determine its exact use. Any ideas on what this might be? What you have is a butter pick. This tool is used to pick up the decorative butter shavings created by a butter knife. To use it, you first run a butter knife across the top of a stick of butter to create curls or shavings. The butter pick is then used to lift these shavings, which helps avoid contaminating the knife that multiple people may use. This makes serving butter both hygienic and visually appealing. What is this tool? It has puzzled antique dealers for years and even confounded 4 appraisers from the Antiques Roadshow just yesterday. The tool is 8.5 inches long with a bowl that is 2 inches in diameter. I discovered it in an antique store in Maine a few years ago and purchased it without knowing its purpose, thinking it might be an interesting conversation piece. One of the appraisers speculated that the cleats might have been used to scuff a surface and that the bowl could have held glue, which would be applied to the surface and then heated by the tool to set the glue. However, this was only a guess, and he was genuinely stumped. Does anyone here know what this tool is? This tool is an old carpet stretcher, patented on June 26, 1860 by Henry M. Hartshorn of Malden, Massachusetts. According to the patent, the cup is designed to hold tacks used for nailing the carpet in place while stretching it with the stretcher. The curved notch is where you place the tack before nailing it down. This design facilitated the process of securing the carpet more efficiently. My brother saw this object today in a field near Marple in northern England. It's the only one there and looks like a heavy black balloon with white netting. Initially, we thought it might be some kind of animal feeder. Can anyone identify this object or explain its purpose? The object you found is an H-trap designed to control horsefly populations. The shape of the large black ball mimics an ideal target for female horseflies, and they are ricked into mistaking the trap as a large animal. The ball absorbs heat from the sun, and the flies are then attracted to the heat when emitted. Once they land on the ball, they will try to bite it, and when they fail to obtain a blood feed, they fly upwards, where they are caught in the funnel and guided into a centrally placed collection chamber. I found this strange object in a drawer in my grandmother's kitchen. It's quite heavy and seems to be made of brass. Does anyone have any idea what it might be used for? What you found is a telephone dialer. It was used with rotary dial phones, which became popular after the introduction of the rotary phone designed by Henry Dreyfuss in the 1950s. With the advent of direct dialing technology, which allowed users to dial area codes and 7-digit phone numbers for long-distance calls, the dialer became a useful tool. To use the telephone dialer, you would place the ball end in the desired number slot on the phone dial instead of using your fingertip, and then turn the dial. My wife found this object on Charmouth Beach. It has no markings. The liquid inside appears to be bright green, but it could also be white inside a green vial. Can anyone identify what this might be? This object is a diver rescue marker, or something similar used in ocean rescue operations. When released, it dyes the water around you, making your location highly visible. Even at night, a black light can illuminate the dye. This greatly enhances the visibility for both dive boats and air support, significantly increasing the chances of being spotted in an emergency situation. What is this heavy, brass, genie lamp-like object with both a strange cutout spout and a narrow upward spout? There are no visible markings, but it appears to be intricately hand-decorated. Can anyone identify it? The object you have is an oil lamp designed as a portable light source. To use it, you place a wick into the spout and fill the main body of the lamp with oil. When lit, the flame burns at the end of the spout, similar to a small candle, providing illumination as you carry the lamp. The horizontal spout serves to stabilize the flame, preventing it from blowing back towards your hand when the lamp is in motion. This design ensures a more consistent light and helps protect the flame from being extinguished by wind or movement. What is this tool? I found it in an older toolbox. The part with the spokes rotates, and the spokes of different diameters align with a hole on the opposite side of the tool. A Sharpie marker is included for size reference. Does anyone have any ideas about what this tool might be? The tool you have is a leather hole punch. It is used for creating holes in leather or similar materials such as for belts. The base features sharpened edges around a hollow metal cylinder, ensuring that the punches are clean and precise. What is this stabby thing on wheels that arrived in the mail by mistake from Jamaica, New York? It came in the mail, and no one in my house had ordered it. Not shown in the picture, but at the back of the cylinder at the top, there are a few holes that might be for screws. Any ideas on what this could be? What you have is a crevice weeding tool. This tool is designed for removing weeds from narrow cracks and crevices. It's convenient because it allows you to weed without having to bend over. The wheels make it easy to maneuver the tool along the surface, while the pointed end helps to get into tight spaces. I found a 1940 Mercury dime that has been turned into a two-sided spoon of some sort with a fused ring at the top. It came with odds and ends from a deceased relative in Ohio, mixed in with jewelry, pins, and coins from their estate. The spoon is approximately 3 inches long and has a smaller welded spoon and a key ring. I could only find information about the dime itself. Does anyone know what this item might be or its purpose? The item you have is a silver Mercury dime that has been repurposed into a snuff spoon pendant, also known as a cocaine spoon pendant. These types of pendants were historically used for snuff tobacco or, in some contexts, for powdered substances like cocaine. What is this object? The section above the handle rotates, and there are 2 coins in the middle that appear to have Chinese characters on them. The dimensions aren't clear in the photo, but the handle is large enough to fit 3 fists. Can anyone identify what this might be? This is a kite spindle, a tool used for winding and unwinding kite string. It appears to be a reproduction of the kind that was commonly used from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s. The rotating part above the handle allows for easy control of the string as you fly your kite. The coins with Chinese characters might be a decorative touch. I found this bottle at the bottom of a lake. It has a plastic cork, a marking on the bottom indicating a half-liter capacity, and a raised vine and leaf pattern on the glass. The liquid inside has a slightly sweet smell, similar to a liqueur, but it tastes more like a mild whiskey, less than 40% alcohol. It's sweeter than whiskey, but not as sweet as Drambuie. What could this be? It seems you've discovered a bottle of straw wine, also known as raisin wine. This type of wine is made from grapes that are dried off the vine to concentrate their juice, resulting in a sweeter and more concentrated flavor. The grapevine and leaf pattern on the bottle, along with the sweeter taste you've described, supports this identification. Some winemakers age their wine at the bottom of lakes. Those who have tried such wine report that its flavor can be quite different from wine made using standard methods. I found a heavy bronze and lead object weighing around 4 or 4.5 pounds while digging in my grandfather's backyard in Argentina. It has a numerical scale around its perimeter and no moving parts. Could it be part of an old security box or something else? I'm not sure what it is. The object you found is a German artillery fuse used by the German army during World War II. This type of fuse had several modes of operation and could detonate either on impact or with a delay. After the end of World War II, many Nazis fled to countries like Argentina, which might explain how this artifact ended up there. I found these metal tags in an old icebox from the 1920s. The tags are marked Aurora, Illinois Ace Steel Equipment Company and are held together by copper wires. There are no signs of rust, so they might be plated steel. Does anyone know what these tags were used for? The metal tags you found are likely from the All Steel Equipment Company, established in 1912 in Aurora, Illinois. Initially named All Steel Equip Company, they manufactured electrical boxes and steel lockers. They rebranded in 1929 and expanded their products to include file cabinets and other equipment. What is this strange structure in a lake in Girard, Ohio? It drains into a large pipe at the bottom of a hill. I took this photo a few years ago and I'm guessing it's a drain to prevent the lake from overflowing, but I'm not entirely sure. The pipe at the bottom is big enough to walk through. Does anyone know what this could be? The structure you found is called a spillway, specifically a bellmouth spillway. It's designed to control the release of excess water from a lake or reservoir, preventing it from overflowing. This type of spillway, often referred to as a glory hole due to its inverted bell shape, is a crucial safety feature of the dam. Without it, an uncontrolled overflow could erode the dam's foundation, potentially leading to its collapse. What are these glass-like objects found scattered on the shoreline of a beach in the Scottish Isles? They include both clear and black pieces, with some having equal lines all around. They feel like glass and have a texture similar to sea glass. Some are nearly the size of wooden dowels. The beach where they were found was rocky, with many pebbles rather than sand. The objects you found are actually carbon rods from batteries. These rods are often used as the core component in batteries, particularly in older or larger types like zinc-carbon batteries. They can sometimes be found as debris on beaches, especially if the batteries have been discarded or washed up over time. The texture and appearance you described, similar to sea glass, is consistent with the way these rods can weather and break down. I found metal shards inside the shower head of my rental property. They are brittle and vary in length, though they're not sharp despite their appearance. I haven't found anything similar in my searches. Should I be concerned about this? The metal shards you found are likely solder from copper plumbing. If the pipes were overheated during the soldering process, long strands of solder can form inside the shower head. This is a sign of improper soldering. While these fragments are generally not harmful, they may affect water flow. We were shot at with this during the protests. What is it? The item you were hit with appears to be an FN 300-3 paint round. These .68 caliber 8.5 gram projectiles use a fin-stabilized polystyrene body and a non-toxic bismuth payload. This design enhances their accuracy and effective range compared to other less lethal systems. The bismuth granules are non-toxic, making it safe to keep as a souvenir. IKEA coffee mug. What is the thing at the bottom? The feature at the bottom of the coffee mug is designed to break the air or water pocket seal, preventing the mug from floating or sliding off the counter when it is wet. This clever design helps to ensure that the mug stays securely in place even on wet surfaces. What is this object that fits perfectly into itself and has a magnet in the center that holds the pieces together? My grandma brought it to me. The object you have is an herb grinder, also known simply as a grinder. It consists of two cylindrical halves, top and bottom, that separate and have sharp teeth or pegs. When the halves are turned together, they shred the material inside. While manufacturers design them primarily for grinding herbs and spices for cooking, they are often used to shred cannabis and may not be as effective for actual spices. I found this item under the floorboards of a house from the 1800s. Can anyone help identify what it is? The item you found is an egg kitchen appliance, specifically an egg clipper. It's used to cleanly remove the top of an egg, usually for soft-boiled eggs, allowing easy access to the contents. I received these small glass tubes in the mail. They contain two tiny ball bearings each and are quite delicate, measuring roughly 12 millimeters in length. I haven't ordered anything like this and have no idea what they are. Can anyone help identify them? The small glass tubes you found are likely rattles used in fishing lures. Each tube contains two tiny ball bearings, which create noise when placed inside a lure to attract fish. What is this type of clamp used for? It only has China written on it. The clamp doesn't open more than what's shown, and when closed, the holes align perfectly. This clamp is likely used for a lockout-tagout procedure, a safety measure that ensures dangerous equipment is properly shut off and cannot be restarted until maintenance or repair work is completed. The clamp would be used to isolate and render hazardous energy sources inoperative, preventing accidental startup. A tag is then attached to the lock, identifying the worker responsible and the reason for the lockout. The worker keeps the key, ensuring that only they can remove the lock and restart the equipment. What is this object? Several surgical instruments were found nearby, but it might not be related to them at all. Any ideas on what it could be? This object appears to be a primitive tool used in the 19th century to assist in childbirth. It was specifically used in a procedure called destructive delivery, where the size of a baby's head was reduced by draining cerebrospinal fluid if the head was too large for delivery. This method was generally used in cases where the fetus was already non-living. I found this today. The shop owner thinks it has something to do with faking seances, and the age would be about right. It's made of solid wood and has a hidden nut and bolt on the underside that open up the top to reveal a secret compartment. This compartment is full of electric wires that don't go anywhere or attach to anything. On each side of the table, there is a small hole drilled just wide enough for a wire to pass through. I'm wondering why you would need to hide electronics inside a table. It would make sense if you wanted to fake spirit activity with lights and sounds. I'm very interested to know what this table is actually for. The object you found is an electrophone table, a fascinating piece of early entertainment technology from the late 1800s. Alexander Graham Bell envisioned the telephone being used for live streaming performances into homes, leading to the creation of the electrophone system. Subscribers could listen to live performances from music halls, churches, and theaters via telephone lines. Your table, designed with hooks for headsets and a hidden compartment filled with electric wires, was part of this system. The electrophone allowed users to connect to the Electrophone Exchange in London and enjoy performances through a headset, with wires discreetly hidden within the table. This setup was popular among the wealthy who could afford the subscription fees. Although the electrophone fell out of use in the 1920s as radio broadcasting became more popular, your table remains a rare and intriguing example of early streaming technology. I was given this small silver object as a pre-wedding gift with no explanation. It has small lines engraved on it and seems fairly old. I was born and raised in the US, but ethnically I'm mainly Norwegian, as is the gifter. Could anyone help identify what this object might be and its significance, particularly in relation to Norwegian wedding customs? This is a traditional Native American wedding vase. These vases have been around for many years and are still considered an essential part of many Native American wedding ceremonies. Those who aren't familiar with Native American wedding vases might not realize it, but each specific part of a wedding vase carries meaning. A lot of work goes into creating the perfect vase for a wedding. The parents of the groom have traditionally been responsible for creating the wedding vase. To start, they go to a local river to find clay to create their vase. By combining the clay with sand, they hand build the vase. The pottery is traditionally fired outside in an open pit and then cleaned and polished to be ready for use during the wedding ceremony. One spout on the wedding vase represents the husband, while the other represents the wife. The handle in the middle of the wedding vase symbolizes the unity that a husband and wife achieve when they come together on their wedding day. The space between the handle and the two spouts represents the couple's circle of life. I found this in my Christmas stocking when I was 7 or 8 years old. No one knew where it came from. It would disappear and reappear throughout my childhood, always remaining a mystery to me. I hadn't seen it since 2013 until today. Part of me wants to keep believing in its magical properties, but I've wanted to know what it is for almost 20 years now. It looks like some kind of jewelry pendant, but the large hole at the bottom doesn't go all the way through. This is a jadeite pendant with a space to hold herbs or sandalwood. The word on the back is Fu, which means luck. The dragon heads are common Chinese symbols, but sometimes there is a bat instead because the word for bat sounds like luck. Usually, it is strung and attached to a belt and carried for luck. Chinese people typically do not carry old pieces with unknown histories because they might have belonged to someone who died and then were stolen by grave robbers. Such an amulet could bring bad luck. According to popular belief, the pendant returns to you because it has become a part of you. You should keep it, no matter how much it is offered to you. You should also touch it often so that it absorbs the oils from your skin, your soul, which will make it more beautiful. I found this object in a wooded area on the central coast of California, near what seems to be an old wagon trail. It appears to be made of metal since a magnet sticks to it. I tried to excavate it further, but it's quite challenging. There are no visible markings, but it does have what looks like around 10 bolts. Any ideas on what this could be? After some confusion about what the object might be, it was eventually identified as an antique brake drum. Here's how we figured it out. The property owner called the sheriff, who came out to investigate. They sent photos to the bomb squad, and we had to wait until they could come to the site. We were instructed to evacuate the area while they were there. The bomb squad conducted an investigation, took x-rays, and confirmed it was not a mine or any other unexploded ordnance, UXO. After excavating the object completely, they determined it was indeed an antique brake drum. 1.5-inch metal mechanical thing. Doesn't move but looks like it used to. Pulled it out of some cremains, but don't think it's anything surgical related. Does anyone have any ideas about what this could be? What you found is a titanium telescopic implant known as the Medtronic T2. It is used to replace one of the vertebrae in the spine to facilitate fusion between two adjacent vertebral bodies. Such implants are typically used when it is not possible to restore a damaged vertebra in a patient. What is this transparent, gold-colored object? It stands about 25 centimeters tall and weighs around 40 grams. It's hollow inside and has no openings. I understand what it looks like, but I have a feeling it might be used for something different. What you've found is a pumo, the lucky object of Apulian tradition. The pumo, from the Latin pumum, or pine cone, is a budding flower, a symbol of new life, and emerges from the ancient Apulian tradition. It used to stand at the ends of balconies, columns, terraces, and, in pairs, at the sides of the bed of newlyweds to wish happiness, prosperity, and fertility. In your case, it appears to be either an original or a replica of a glass ornament, likely made by Bernard Perrault in France between 1675 and 1710. I found this capsule when I was staying overnight at a hostel. It feels lightweight and is about 2 inches long. There's also an inscription on the bottom that says dangerous explosive. It's made of orange plastic and seems to have a foil cap underneath the translucent cap, like a tube of toothpaste would have. What's this capsule used for? This is a pocket flare cartridge. It is designed for use in deterring predators. Avoid touching the foil cover beneath the translucent safety screw cap as it contains the primer and will discharge the cartridge if pierced. To use it, screw the threaded primer into the end of a pen-like device with a spring-loaded striker inside. When you pull back and release the striker, it will hit the primer. Always keep the safety cap on and never point the gray end toward yourself or anyone else. I recently discovered a heavy gold brick among my grandparents' belongings. It has an engraved inscription and an image of a peacock. Any insights would be greatly appreciated. What you found is a multi-tiered brass die for an engraving press. It's used in printing machines where ink is applied with a roller, excess ink is wiped off, and then paper is pressed onto it to print the image. The screws on the die are for adjusting the height to ensure precise printing. The engraving and the peacock design are part of the stamp's artwork, used for creating detailed prints. I found this in the cushions of my couch. It's a metal object that resembles the shape and size of a playing card. One side features an onion, while the other side shows an onion with an arrow. Does anyone have any idea what this could be? It's a stainless steel soap. This is a piece of stainless steel shaped like a soap bar or another handheld form. Its purported purpose is to neutralize or reduce strong odors, such as those from handling garlic or onion. The idea is that rubbing your hands with stainless steel helps to remove these persistent smells. However, no published scientific studies have been conducted on the efficacy of these soaps, which raises serious doubts about their effectiveness. What is this World War II-era box kite stored in a yellow metal tub? It was given to me by my grandfather when I was a child, who mentioned that it was used by one of the British forces during the war, though I'm not sure which one. The instructions on the casing depict a person sitting in what looks like a dinghy and using it. There's a welded ring pull on the inside of the lid that appears to be for attaching it to the kite. What was it used for, and in which services might it have been used? This is an RAF box kite, affectionately known as a Gibson girl, due to the hourglass shape of its radio transmitter. It was part of the kit issued to airmen in case they were shot down, allowing them to send a distress signal and request rescue. The kite would be used to elevate the aerial for the radio signal. If you examine the yellow canvas sail, you can determine whether it is British or American issue by checking the spelling of center. What is this stand found on a farm in Missouri, USA? It looks like a cup holder, but there are hooks around its base. It was placed outside on the patio near a barbecue grill. Is it related to horses? Since the barn we are in has a lot of horses. This is a drink holder, a piece of folk art commonly found in Missouri. It likely originated from an old tool stand, as suggested by the metal rings on the main post, which seems suitable for supporting a fire poker in an upright position. Such items are typical of rural Missouri craftsmanship and are often created as unique, one-off pieces. While it's not specifically related to horses, its rustic and practical design is characteristic of the area. What is this instrument? My grandmother has it, and we're not sure what it's called. The mouthpiece is the small rod at the end that curves upwards. It is reedless. All you have to do is blow, and it will make its sound. The valves actuate, but I'm not getting a change in pitch on more than half of them. I suspect the internal mechanism might be stuck, or if there's a diaphragm, it might be broken. There are no visible marks on it. After posting it on Facebook, someone offered $22,000 to buy it, but I'd rather keep it in the family as we don't have many family heirlooms left. The instrument you have is a harmonicore. It was invented around 1861 by Louis-Julien Jolin in Paris and was intended as a substitute for the oboe or English horn. The harmonicore features 25 piston-like keys and covers a range of 2 chromatic octaves, with its keys arranged similarly to a piano keyboard. Given its rarity and historical significance, it's advisable not to attempt any restoration yourself. These instruments are extremely rare, with less than 20 years of production and very few surviving examples. They can command a very high price, and notable institutions such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and the Royal Museums of Art and History in Brussels each have one in their collections. What is this ceramic tube? Found in a drawer of random antique bits, these tubes appear to have been white originally, but are now discolored with age. The holes go all the way through. They have a small stamp on the thicker end. They are not heavy and seem to be purely ceramic, with no metal or other substances inside. There are 5 of these tubes found together. The discoloration appears to be from age and storage, not from paint or glaze. They are rough and not shiny or polished. These porcelain insulating tubes are part of an old electrical wiring system known as knob and tube wiring. This system was widely used from around 1880 to the 1930s. The tubes were inserted into holes bored in wall studs or floor joists to protect electrical wires. This prevented the wires from coming into contact with wooden structures and being compressed as the house settled. The tubes also provided protection when wires crossed each other, in case an upper wire broke and fell on a lower one. What is this hinged wooden box with a sliding lid? It's about a foot long and has no markings. I think it belonged to one of my grandparents and was found in a box of random old items. There is something like a keyhole on the side. This old school pencil case is a classic woodworking project that was commonly made by secondary school students in the 1960s and 1970s. Its simple yet effective design made it a popular choice for craft classes, helping students develop essential woodworking skills. I discovered this in my grandfather's basement. It is attached to a base that measures approximately 26 by 16 by 3 inches, and it weighs somewhere between 35 and 45 kilograms. I'm guessing it might be a component from an old sewing machine, but does anyone have other suggestions about what it could be? The item you found is a horizontal steam engine. This particular model appears to be more of a toy or prototype. Real steam engines, which were used extensively during the 18th and 19th centuries, feature a boxy valve body mounted on the side of the short piston. It lacks a place for a spark plug, and it includes slides that handle the load from the connecting rod to prevent side forces on the piston and cylinder. These are typical characteristics of steam engines. Similar models were commonly used in factories before the widespread adoption of electrical power. I picked up these fixed binoculars from a garage sale. Does anyone know what they might have been used for? These are opera glasses. They were commonly rented at theaters, but wealthy individuals would often own their own more elaborate pairs. Many of these personal opera glasses featured an attached handle, which allowed them to be held up to the eyes without having to keep the hand at head level for long periods. While similar designs are still available today, most modern versions are now made almost entirely of plastic. What is this object? I discovered it at a garage sale over 15 years ago. It's a glass flask filled with a brown liquid, but I have no idea what it could be. It's been a family mystery for quite some time. My mother recently rediscovered it while moving across the country. I used to want to break it open as a kid, but now I'm a bit afraid of what the brown goop might be. The flask is made of glass with plastic end caps. I hope someone has seen something like this before. It's just a decoration for the interior. Back in the 1990s, it was popular to have small gadgets and knickknacks on shelves, coffee tables, or desks. These included items like oil and water reactions, sand pouring, and bubble tubes. This particular item is a type of bubble tube.
When turned upside down, the liquid inside is viscous enough to allow slow bubbles to rise every 5 to 10 seconds. This effect lasts for 3 to 4 minutes, and then you simply flip it back over to watch the bubbles rise again. What is this thing? It's about 9 inches long, takes 2 C-size batteries, and vibrates when you flick the switch. The metal is magnetic, so it's not aluminum, but because of the lack of wiring, the metal has to be conductive enough to carry the current of the battery. It was in my grandma's belongings. It also says Japan on the top and bottom. What you found is part of a back-a-scratcher massager. This device was developed in the 1960s and was quite popular at the time. It was designed to allow a person to scratch their back by themselves. The metal construction and the Japan marking indicate that it was manufactured in Japan, which was common for such products during that era. I found this metal structure in the Italian Alps near Marmolata. It was about 3 meters tall, and we saw a few of these on the side of the mountain. Any idea what these are and their purpose? It's a mounting system for an avalanche control device called Obelix. I've discussed these devices in detail in a previous video. These pods contain hydrogen and oxygen tanks used to generate explosions. The working principle involves creating small explosions to prevent avalanches. Each pod costs about $120,000, but the investment pays off in terms of safety and efficiency. I found an award glued inside a book while cleaning out a relative's house. Can someone help identify which branch of service this award belongs to and what type of award it is? Additionally, I discovered a locked briefcase in his bedroom that I'll need to break open. I also found a tiny leather Bible written in what seems to be Russian, along with a funeral card inside it, also in Russian. The award you found is the Medal for Impeccable Service, a Soviet military award given for long service. This medal was awarded to deserving members of the armed forces of the USSR, the Interior Ministry, and the Ministry for the Protection of Public Order, recognizing 10, 15, and 20 years of faithful and impeccable service to the state. Medals of this type were issued to many military personnel in the USSR. For example, Yuri Gagarin, the first human to travel into space, had such a medal. However, your specific medal was awarded for service in the KGB. This is indicated by the Roman numerals located on the lower part of the obverse side between the lower rays of the star. These numerals were only present on medals issued for KGB service. Other versions of this medal did not have Roman numerals. My neighbors shared an unsettling video of a woman holding this device up to their Ring doorbell. She walked up, held it directly in front of the camera while it made a buzzing noise, and then left quickly. Any ideas on what this might be or if we should be worried? There were no packages on the porch, and nothing was stolen. The device in question is likely a frequency scanner, often used by car thieves. Many people tend to keep their vehicle keys close to their front doors, and these scanners can pick up the signal from that distance. This allows thieves to access your vehicle, disable security features, and drive away, especially if your car uses a keyless ignition system. Vehicles parked on the curb are particularly vulnerable to this type of theft, where the signal from the key fob can be cloned. What is the purpose of the handlebars attached to the horns of this goat found in a field in Scotland? This was the only goat in the pen with these attachments. Are they used for medical reasons, or do they serve another purpose? The handlebars on the goat's horns are likely a preventive measure. After repeatedly freeing the goat from a fence where it got stuck with its horns, the farmer attached these handles to prevent further incidents. Goats are curious and often get their heads stuck in fences while trying to reach food. This setup helps ensure the goat can't push its head through far enough to get its horn snagged, making it easier for the farmer to manage. What is this thing? We found it while renovating. It's made of metal and about 10 inches long. We live in Holland, where active combat took place during World War II. I haven't touched it and won't be touching it. My dad thinks it might be an explosive from World War II. Can anyone identify it? Based on the description, the object you found is likely a World War II-era mortar shell. Specifically, it appears to be an Ordnance SBML 2-inch mortar shell, which was used by the British Army and Commonwealth forces during and after the war. This type of mortar was designed to fire various types of shells, including high explosive, white phosphorus smoke, titanium tetrachloride smoke, illumination, and signal multi-star shells. Given its historical context, it's important not to handle or move the shell.
Please contact local authorities or a bomb disposal expert to safely assess and remove it. Later, the author of the post got back in touch and confirmed that the EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team, verified it is indeed a mortar round. What is this thing? I found it in a bag of Hershey's Candy Cane Kisses, a solid metal object the same size as a kiss. Could it be part of this machinery? What you found is likely a metal dummy version intentionally placed in randomly selected bags to test and validate Hershey's automated quality control systems. These metal objects are used to ensure their metal detectors are functioning properly. However, if one of these dummies made it into a final product bag, it suggests there might be an issue with their quality control system, potentially allowing other foreign objects to slip through in the same batch. I've mentioned a similar object in this video. It might be a good idea to contact the manufacturer and report the issue. Found in a forest in Värmland, Sweden, about 1 meter from the ground and roughly 20 centimeters in size. It's hard to the touch, but drips liquid when knocked. It was found 50 meters from a large lake Vänern. My wife has lived here her whole life and has never seen anything like it. It's not a conifer. Does anyone know what this could be? The phenomenon you are describing is known as guttation, where some fungi exude beads of moisture. This is common in certain types of polypores, like Fomitopsis pinicola, which is commonly known as the polypore. The liquid they produce can resemble tears, leading one to think the fungus is weeping or sweating. In some species, the drops may be pigmented and appear like milk, tar, or even blood. Are my parents' neighbors engaging in psychological warfare? This device, attached to a dolly and pointed into their yard, emits a very loud alarm twice a day for 10 minutes. It goes off at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., producing a high-pitched, very loud buzz. Originally, before we could locate it, we thought it was a malfunctioning power tool, but it's far too loud for that. Another theory was that it might be used to scare off crows from crops, but it's also too loud and directed right into my parents' yard. There's a switch that appears to need manual operation. What could this device be? The device you've encountered is likely a mosquito alarm or a similar device. This machine is designed to deter loitering by emitting a high-frequency sound that is often heard primarily by younger people. It is nicknamed Mosquito due to the buzzing sound it produces. Invented by Howard Stapleton in 2005, the device was initially tested in Bury, South Wales, and was effective in reducing teenage loitering near stores. The latest versions have two frequency settings, one around 17.4 kHz, which is typically audible only to younger individuals, and another at 8 kHz, which most people can hear. Additionally, this type of device can also be used to deter dogs. I found this medal among my Nana's belongings. It has "The Great War for Civilization" written on the back. She was born in 1915 and lived her entire life in Bolton, England. I haven't seen a medal like this before, and I'm curious about its origins. Does anyone know what this is? The medal you found is likely the Victory Medal, also known as the Inter-Allied Victory Medal. This was a campaign medal awarded by the United Kingdom and the British Empire for service during the First World War. In March 1919, an Inter-Allied Committee recommended the creation of a common Allied campaign medal, leading to the design of various medals by each Allied nation, all featuring certain common elements. These include a winged figure of victory on the front and a similar ribbon design. The Victory Medal was awarded to those who had already received the 1914 star, and to most who were awarded the British War Medal. Given that your Nana was born in 1915 and lived in England, this medal could have belonged to a family member who served in World War I. I received a bag from China containing 6 of these, and I have no idea why. What are they? It came in a black plastic bag with Chinese lettering on it. It's so weird because it has my name and address on it, but I have no idea what it is or why it was sent to me. I initially thought it was some kind of dried weed, but I checked with a florist and they didn't know either. Can anyone help identify this? The item you received is called the Rose of Jericho, also known as the Resurrection Plant. It's a remarkable plant that grows in dry deserts, where it is perfectly adapted to survive without water for years. It curls up into a little tumbleweed-like ball to protect itself until the rains come.
When conditions are moist enough, the seemingly dead bundle of vegetation unfurls, becoming a soft, fern-like plant with green fronds. However, be cautious. You likely received this item because unscrupulous sellers sometimes use this tactic to manipulate reviews. They need a legitimate account to order something, and then they post a review. They will do this multiple times using different accounts and recipient addresses to accumulate many verified reviews. You probably won't hear anything more about it, as they just used your address to make the order seem legitimate. I found these in my cooked spaghetti. The sauce was canned. What is this? They appeared after I cooked the meal. They're small, about the size of pencil eraser tips. What you found in your cooked spaghetti are likely seeds from the Abris precatorius plant, commonly known as jaquirity beans or rosary peas. This plant is a perennial climber with slender vines and pinnate leaves that wrap around trees, shrubs, and hedges. The seeds are often used in jewelry and percussion instruments due to their striking appearance. However, they are extremely toxic because they contain a substance called abrin. Even a single, thoroughly chewed seed can be fatal for both adults and children. The author later reached out and clarified that these seeds were mistakenly harvested as bird's eye peppers. He also mentioned that he and his family are fine and that they will continue to investigate the issue. What is the statue that my friend found in the water? It depicts a woman with her arms raised symmetrically. She is holding chains in each hand, with a snake attached to one chain and a mask attached to the other. The figurine you found is likely a symbol in the religion of the Yoruba people. The Yoruba are a West African ethnic group who mainly inhabit parts of Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. In this religion, there is an Orisha spirit named Olokun, who is considered the ruler of all bodies of water and holds authority over other water deities. One of Olokun's tools is a doll with a snake in one hand and a mask in the other, symbolizing life and death. It is possible that this figurine was disposed of as part of a ritual and replaced with a new one. I found this reverse swastika necklace tag among some of my great-uncle's belongings. He was born around 1920 in Chicago, and his parents were from Germany. Why is the swastika reversed and rotated? Initially, I thought it was made of aluminum. However, considering the age of the items in the box, aluminum may not have been widely used during that time period. It feels lightweight, but it could be steel. There are no markings on the back. The reverse swastika on the necklace tag you found likely reflects its historical use and significance rather than any negative connotations. In the United States, swastikas were quite popular until around the start of World War II. They were originally part of the early American Indian culture, where they symbolized long life or good luck. These symbols are not uncommon in various forms, often crafted from silver or nickel. Given the period you mentioned, it is likely that this necklace was a souvenir from a trip to the western United States, and it is probably made from a silver amalgam. Similar symbols can be found on antique Navajo blankets, for example. In Native American cultures, the swastika could face any direction, sometimes appear at an angle, and was used to represent the four winds, north, south, east, and west. It was believed to bring good fortune. What is this thing that you always see on an escalator? The item you're referring to is called an escalator brush or skirt brush. These brushes are designed to help keep shoes, dresses, handbags, and other items from getting snagged in the tiny gap between the escalator steps and the sides. Some people use them to clean their shoes, but this can be risky and may lead to the escalator stopping. What is this red leather devil figure I found in a wooden box in an attic? It's about 20 centimeters in length, 8 centimeters in width, and very flat. It seems to be made out of leather and looks like an old, quite scary devil figure. Could it belong to a tribe? I can't find anything online and really have no clue what it is. Can anyone help identify it? What you found is actually a dried skate. Throughout history, people have used skates and rays, cartilaginous fish related to sharks, in unusual ways. They were often flipped over and shaped into eerie figures that resembled mythical sea devils or sinister mermaids. After being dried and coated with shellac, these figures were sold as curiosities in port cities and seaside towns, a practice that dates back to the 16th century. While the exact origin of this practice isn't entirely clear, some believe it may have ties to old European traditions.
Thankfully, the practice of catching and drying sea creatures like skates, sea stars, or seahorses to sell as tourist trinkets has mostly fallen out of fashion. However, beachcombing still offers the chance to discover various intriguing objects washed ashore by the tide and left to dry in the sun. I found this while clearing my yard. It weighs about 6 pounds and the area has World War II history. Should I call EOD? What you found is likely a shrapnel shell from the World War II era. These types of shells were used by all countries involved in the conflict. Given its weight of about 6 pounds and the historical context of the area, it is important to handle the situation with caution. It closely resembles a type of shell known as the mark, which was used by the British Army. I found this object on the beach in Pensacola, Florida, and despite consulting marine biologists and visiting museums, I haven't been able to identify it. It's roughly the size of a baseball and has puzzled both me and a friend for 20 years. Can anyone help determine what it is? The object you found is likely the throat teeth of a freshwater drum. Freshwater drum, also known as sheep's head or croaker, has specialized teeth in its throat that are used for crushing and grinding food. These throat teeth are distinct, hardened structures separate from the fish's regular teeth and are adapted to help the fish process its diet of crustaceans and other hard-shelled organisms. It's not unusual to find these on beaches where fish remains have washed ashore. I discovered these sets of beach holes in Grayland, Washington during low tide early in the morning. There were 4 or 5 distinct sets, each with 6 holes, and each set was approximately 50 feet closer to the water than the previous one. When I poked a stick into the holes, it went down 3 or 4 feet. What could be the cause of these perfectly arranged sets of beach holes? What you discovered are remnants of a scientific clam survey. Researchers use quadrats, square frames designed to isolate a standard unit of area, for studying the distribution of organisms. This method allows scientists to count organisms within a smaller, representative section and then extrapolate these findings to estimate populations over a larger area. The size of the quadrat is chosen based on the organisms being studied and the overall area being sampled. Today, researchers often use different shapes, such as circles or rectangles, depending on the specific needs of their study. What is this object I found in the woods behind my house? It's definitely not a real gun, but I have no idea what it might be. Based on the rust and the fact that I've lived here for 22 years, it has to be at least 30 years old, maybe even 50. From the barrel, I don't think it was a BB gun or anything similar, but I could be wrong. The object you found is likely an original disintegrator gun from the Buck Rogers series. Buck Rogers, the space hero, first appeared in a short story in the 1928 edition of Amazing Stories magazine. The character became widely known through the 1929 comic strip, which was the first sci-fi strip in history and appeared in over 400 newspapers and 18 languages. Buck Rogers' adventures in comic strips, movies, radio, and television have been an important part of American popular culture. Interestingly, a similar disintegrator gun was featured on the reality TV series Pawn Stars, where it was purchased for $150. I found this item at a farmhouse. It features a swiveling arm and a spinning drum. The object is about 1 foot to 1.5 feet tall and 2.5 to 3 feet long, made of wood and metal. It appears to be over 70 years old, but that's just an estimate. I couldn't find any legible writing on it, and I'm not sure where to start researching. What is this item, and what was it used for? This is a butter worker, a tool used to squeeze the remaining liquid out of butter after it has been churned. The one you found is similar to those used in German-American farmhouses in Wisconsin in the early 19th century. It's tilted to help liquid drain away through holes and is simple enough to be made with basic carpentry skills. By moving the rod from side to side over the butter, it presses and shapes the butter into the desired form. In the course of the 1800s, more sophisticated combinations of roller and board were introduced. I found a round, white item while diving in the sea. It's hard, about 3 centimeters in radius, and has FB Minden written on one side and the number 084647 on the other. The item is dirty white, and I know that Minden is a city in Germany, but I'm unsure about the material and the purpose of this item. Any ideas?
The item you found is likely a Shamat marker from the Minden crematory in Germany, as indicated by F.B. Minden. Such markers are still used today to ensure accurate identification of ashes. Scattering ashes at sea is a common practice, regularly conducted by navies and private individuals around the world. It's likely that this marker ended up in the sea along with the ashes during this process. I found this item in a house along with lots of old maritime artifacts. It has a rotating pad eye attachment on the back of the dial and a propeller-like component with angled blades. What you have found is known as a taffrail log or patent log. By the 18th century, sailors began using these devices, which functioned like a seagoing odometer. The log consists of a propeller-like component that spins in the water and is towed behind the vessel. The rotating vane measures the speed of the ship through the water. This speed is then used to calculate the distance traveled. Additionally, readings are adjusted for tide and current to determine the speed over land. What are these pegs at the end of my bed used for? We initially thought they were for shoes, but there are 9 of them. Any ideas? I bought it from a yard sale, and there are no distinguishing marks or tags. These pegs are likely part of a sack bed, a style that was common from the 1600s through the 20th century. This type of bed used a stuffed mattress, similar to an overstuffed pillow, which was suspended on heavy cloth, such as sailcloth or canvas, stretched between the head and footboards. The presence of knob-like pegs at the ends, combined with the absence of pegs or holes on the sideboards, suggests that this is a sack bed. Such beds were often handmade by craftsmen who were former sailors, shipwrights, or carpenters, particularly in Philadelphia. This style was also prevalent in colonial Virginia and the Carolinas. Interestingly, the phrase "hit the sack," meaning to go to bed, originates from this era, as people used to sleep on large sacks filled with hay before the advent of modern mattresses. A friend of mine found ammunition with a strange shiny tip on a glacier in Switzerland. It could be 30 millimeters in caliber. There are no visible markings, and I couldn't find a match with 30 millimeter Swiss ammunition. My friend thinks it's safe, but I'm concerned it might be dangerous. Can you help determine if it is safe or not? What you have is a projectile from the 35 by 228 millimeters Oerlikon Flabkon, the same gun used on the Flugabwehrkanonenpanzer Gepard. The large cutouts on the aluminum dummy fuse indicate it lacks a real fuse mechanism, and the bluish-gray paint suggests it is an Übungsgranate, a target practice round. However, be advised that even a target practice round can contain active pyrotechnic components like tracers, so it should be handled with caution. What is this thing on the bar counter at work? It's made of metal and hollow, with no other distinguishing features except for a hole in the back and the word Coca-Cola on top. It's about 10 centimeters wide and high. Given its weathered appearance, it could have been here for a long time. Does it have something to do with drinks or bottles? This is an old-fashioned countertop bottle opener, commonly found in old pubs. Based on the details you provided, it looks like the gap in your photo was meant to hold a separate bottle opener. What you have is actually the counterweight, and it's missing the opener attachment on the back. It's not older than 1969, as the Coca-Cola slogan changed from "drink" to "enjoy" in that year. I found an item 7 feet under the basement of a 100-year-old house while plumbers were installing a new pipe. The object seems to be made of partially glazed clay, but I'm not certain. It measures 14.5 centimeters tall and 12.5 centimeters wide. There are no markings on the bottom that I can see. What could this be? The item was found in Toronto, Canada. What you found is a soy sauce jug. A similar item was discovered in downtown San Diego by archaeologists. This jug, imported from China, dates back to the late Victorian period, roughly between the years 1880 and 1915. It was used to store soy sauce. The area where it was found was inhabited by a working-class immigrant population. Despite adapting to American life, these immigrants retained connections to their cultural roots. The brownware jars, including this soy sauce jug, reflect their ongoing ties to their homeland and the integration of their cultural traditions into their new lives. What is this 6-inch tall piece of plastic with a metal base that collapses into it? I tried Googling K&M and K&M antenna because before I realized I could unscrew the bottom and transform it, it looked like an antenna.
Neither search was helpful. My only other guess is that it might be some sort of tripod, but the top doesn't seem to have any attachment point. The top is plastic, and the legs are metal. Any ideas on what this could be? This is a stand for a clarinet, or a similar instrument. The legs collapse into the base for easy storage, making it compact and portable. When you unscrew the bottom and extend the legs, it provides a stable base for holding the instrument upright. I found this item in a basement I was working in. It is about 18 inches tall, made of cast aluminum, and attached to copper water pipes. The house uses a well for water, and this item has copper pipes going into it. It felt cold, so it doesn't contain hot water. What is this item, and what is it used for? What you have found is likely a water swirler, a device often associated with pseudoscience. These devices are claimed to purify and impart special properties to water by swirling it. Although there is no scientific evidence supporting these claims, they come in various forms and shapes, and they are generally known for being very expensive. What are these 7 screws with geometric shapes on their heads? I found them in an unlabeled plastic bag at my father's house. No one there knows where they came from, and since many step-family members frequently visit, they could have been left by anyone. What you found are tips for wood burning. These tips are used in pyrography tools to create various patterns and textures on wood. Each tip is designed for specific techniques and effects. What is the tool or instrument this woman is holding? It has holes in the body and a possible hanging hole at the top. There's also a box on the floor that might be related. Any ideas on what this could be? The item she's holding is a bed warmer. These were used to warm up cold sheets before going to bed. The way they worked was simple. Hot coals were placed inside the bed warmer, and then the lid was closed before it was placed between the sheets. As for why she's holding it, it's possible that people posed with everyday items. Or it could be a more decorative, high-end version of a bed warmer, making it worth showing off. Based on her clothing and demeanor, she might be a lady's maid, a personal attendant responsible for helping with dressing, hair, makeup, and other personal tasks. Ladies' maids often had close contact with the women they served, including traveling with them. I found this while metal detecting in a Minnesota park where other objects from the 1860s have been discovered. It's metal, but I don't have much else to go on. My uncle thinks it might be related to what-do-you-own figures, but I'm not sure. Does anyone know what this could be? The item you found is a mold for casting lead soldiers. Making tin soldiers from molten lead alloy was a popular activity among children and some adults, particularly through the 1960s. However, lead is a toxic metal, and this activity was quite dangerous. Kids would cast the soldiers in their own kitchens, using kits that included a melting pot, a ladle, sticks of lead alloy, and various soldier molds. After casting, they would file the figures smooth and paint them, often with lead-based paints, which further increased the risk of lead exposure. One commenter shared, "I'd cast them, then melt them back down and do it all again. It was fun. It was the 60s. I found this in my grandmother's apartment. Is this a deactivated bomb or something? It looks like what you have is a World War II era M69 mortar shell for the M2 mortar. During the late 1920s, the United States Army began exploring mortars as a light infantry support weapon. They eventually adopted a 60mm design from Edgar Brandt, a French ordnance engineer, and purchased a license to manufacture it. This weapon was used throughout World War II by the United States Army, saw service again in the Korean War, and was also employed by French forces in their counterinsurgency campaigns in Indochina and Algeria. There is no fuse in the nose of the shell, so it should be inert. However, if the hole in the nose is filled with a plastic-like, somewhat smelly, brownish material, it could still be live. It is important to have it inspected by a professional to ensure safety. Later, the author followed up and confirmed that the shell is empty inside, which means it is indeed inert. I found this metallic object in a garden in the southwest of England. It appears to close in on itself. Does anyone know what this might be? What you have is a Hindu ritual box. It's designed to store sacred items such as sandalwood paste, camphor, and also turmeric and other colorful powders used during rituals. These powders are sprinkled over a deity's idol and used in various religious ceremonies. This box is typically kept in a prayer room. It looks like the central piece that usually fits into the central hole is missing. I found this in storage at the post office. It's an accordion-style metal contraption that is 6 feet long when fully extended and folds down to 6 inches. It's lightweight and may be made of aluminum. What could this be used for? The item you found is a recreational vehicle septic hose holder. It provides support for a flexible hose, allowing it to be laid out in a gradually sloping trough. This design helps ensure proper drainage. The holder can be set up and removed quickly and easily, making it convenient for owners of recreational vehicles. I have an unusual small silver box with a wing-shaped piece on a chain inside. We've had this box for years and never figured out its purpose. The lid closes with a clasp, and the wing-shaped piece is attached to the bottom of the box by the chain. There's a small opening in the bottom where the chain is attached. Any idea what this could be? The item you have is a purse hook. It's designed to be hung over the edge of a table to keep your purse off the floor. This particular purse hook was made by a company called Arbin and is from the mid-20th century. I found this in a school. It has a AAA battery, a button, and some LEDs. It also has a magnet on one end. When I press the button, all 8 LEDs light up, and then only the one at the top stays on. There's no other way to interact with it besides the button and the LEDs. Any idea what this might be? The device you found is from Promethean and is used for aligning a laser curtain with an interactive whiteboard, such as the active wall. It attaches to the board using a magnet. When you press the button, the LEDs indicate how to adjust the laser curtain for proper alignment. The LED sequence helps you ensure that the curtain is positioned correctly. It's likely that your school had this type of board installed, which would explain the presence of this alignment tool. I found this in a box of random kitchen supplies. It has a 16-inch long wooden part with a 4-inch handle and a metal blade that is serrated on one side and flat on the other. Is this for carving meat or some other food, or does it serve a different purpose? The tool you found is a bread slicer. Its serrated edge is designed to cut through bread easily and helps to create evenly thick slices without much effort. It's a practical kitchen item for getting consistent bread slices. I recently bought some neon rainbow acrylic sticks at a thrift store, but I'm not sure what they are used for. Can anyone identify them? The larger pieces look like picture or book ledges, but I'm puzzled by the metal piece attached to one end. Are there any additional parts that might be missing? What you have are mahjong tile racks. They are used to hold mahjong tiles during gameplay, similar to how stands are used for Scrabble pieces. Here's an interesting fact. While many people think of mahjong as an ancient game, it actually originated in China around the end of the 19th century. I found this on the grass in a suburban business park. It's lightweight, like paper or dried mud, crumbles easily but holds its shape in water. It has square holes running all the way through to the other side. It can be broken with bare hands and crumbles into small pieces. It's made of a single material, arranged in a grid, and is approximately 2 inches from end to end. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is part of a catalytic converter. A catalytic converter is an exhaust emission control device that reduces toxic gases and pollutants from the exhaust of an internal combustion engine. It works by catalyzing a redox reaction to convert these harmful substances into less toxic emissions. Catalytic converters are commonly used in vehicles with gasoline or diesel engines to meet emission standards. I found this in a pile of scrap steel. It's about a foot across, has 2 handles, and is covered in spikes. The metal appears to be decades old, and there were no other specialty tools nearby to suggest a specific trade or profession. The steel is quite sturdy, possibly 3/8 inches or 1/4 inches thick, with spikes that are about 1 inch long and 1/2 inch in diameter. Does anyone know what this might be? It looks like a dibble board, which is used for making small holes in soil or seed trays to plant seeds. However, it's unusual to see one made from metal, as they're typically made from wood or plastic. I found this mysterious glass object filled with an unknown liquid while exploring a barn from the early 1900s in the United States. It's about the size of a large light bulb, and I'm not sure what it could have been used for. Any ideas?
What you have found is likely an antique fire grenade or fire extinguisher commonly used in the 19th century and the early 20th century. These devices were designed to be hung in high-risk areas and would activate by shattering when exposed to heat, releasing the liquid inside to suppress the fire, similar to modern sprinkler systems. Most of these extinguishers were filled with carbon tetrachloride, a highly toxic substance. Please handle it with care and avoid breaking it, as the chemical can be hazardous to your health. I found this small metal can while cleaning a basement. It doesn't open, and it looks like someone already tried to open it, but it's sealed tight. When I shake it, there's a rattling sound inside. There's no date or markings on it. Any idea what it could be? At first, many people thought this was a can from a child's play kitchen. Some users recalled playing with similar cans as children, with one mentioning, "My grandmother had a set of these in her basement, and we used to play with them." There were many cans with famous brand names. Later, someone suggested it might be an old lighter, as they had found a similar item online. They encouraged the original poster to try opening it. The poster responded, "I've tried twisting both the top and bottom parts and pulling them off, but it doesn't budge." A few hours later, the author updated the post. He said that he managed to open the can, and it turned out to be a lighter made in the 1940s. I have a small metal object that my grandmother received from her grandmother, who was born in the late 1800s. I have no idea what it is or how old it might be. Could it possibly be related to Prussian armor? The object you have is most likely a snuff box, a small container traditionally used to store ground tobacco. Its design seems to be inspired by military armor, resembling a breastplate and helmet. Based on its appearance, it likely resembles the armor of a German officer from around 1900. You can compare it to illustrations of World War I parade uniforms. The object features a Pickelhaube, a spiked helmet, which strongly indicates that it originates from Germany. Snuff was quite popular in Germany during this time. The hole on the left side was likely meant for a photograph of a loved one, as photography had become quite common in Germany by the late 1800s. I came across a strange weapon in a German news clip about the Turkish coup. Can anyone help identify what this weapon might be? The item you saw is a portable anti-drone jammer system designed to protect military bases, important facilities, and high-value assets from attacks by drones and small unmanned aerial vehicles. This device is shaped like a rifle to enable precise targeting, as it uses a Yagi-style antenna that emits a cone-shaped beam of radio waves. This beam must be carefully aimed at the drone to interfere with its control and navigation signals. The rifle scope helps to focus this beam more accurately. I found this item at an antique store labeled as a key. It seems to be made of brass, is fairly heavy for its size, and has no markings. Any idea what this key could be used for? What you found is a water meter key. This tool is used to turn the valve on a water meter or to open the meter box lid, allowing access to control the flow of water. These keys are typically made of metal, such as brass, to withstand outdoor conditions and frequent use. They often have a T-shaped handle for better leverage and grip, making it easier to turn the valve or open the lid. I found a metal object in the middle of the desert. Its shape is very geometric and doesn't look natural. It kind of feels and looks like cast iron and weighs about 10.5 ounces. Does anyone have any idea what this could be? The object you found might be a worn-out ball from a tumbling mill. In a tumbling mill, which is a large rotating drum, steel or iron balls are used to crush materials like ore or stone. Over time, these balls can become worn and take on a shape similar to what you've described. I found this glass-like tube shell washed up on a beach in Nags Head, North Carolina, just south of Jeanette's Pier. It looks like a transparent piece of a tube. Any idea what it could be? What you found is likely a stingray toothplate. Stingrays use their flat teeth to crush the shells of crabs and other shellfish, grinding them up for easier consumption. These teeth, which often wash ashore, have a glass-like appearance. I often see these carriages in the United Kingdom, but I'm not sure what they are used for. They don't seem optimized for aerodynamics or capacity, and their doors are angled at 45 degrees. They look too clean for carrying coal. Any idea what they transport?
These carriages are used by Mendip Rail Limited, a company that transports aggregate materials like gravel, sand, and other bulk materials from quarries in the United Kingdom. The wagons function as hoppers, filled from the top and emptied downward through a special section of rail with a conveyor or similar mechanism underneath. This allows for efficient unloading directly onto transport systems below the tracks. I found a small, plastic-like circular object about 3 centimeters in diameter on several beaches in Sardinia, Italy. It resists bending and feels durable. Any idea what this could be? What you found is likely a piece of moving bed biofilm reactor media. These plastic carriers are used in wastewater treatment plants to provide surface area for biofilm growth, which helps break down waste in water. They are lightweight and durable, which is why they can sometimes wash up on beaches after being discharged from treatment systems. I found this object in the trash. It's about the size of my hand. It has 3 rotating layers, and I don't think it's a calendar because the numbers don't seem to follow any order. It looks like it might be missing a piece at the front. Any ideas on what this could be? What you found is a perpetual calendar made by ROKR. It is designed to be assembled like a puzzle. The calendar uses rotating layers to display the day, month, and year. The inconsistent numbers are part of the design, allowing different dates to be set by rotating the parts. These calendars are often sold as DIY kits for decoration or gifts. This was found at the bottom of a lake in northern Maine. It weighs about 2 pounds and appears to be made of stone. The longer end has a sharpened tip like an axe. It seems to be stone and is not magnetic as far as I can tell. If it is, the corrosion gap is large enough to negate any magnetic properties. Can anyone help us identify what this is? This is a stone axe head. A forked wooden handle would have been slotted into the groove and then secured in place by tightly lashing it with rawhide, sinew, or plant fibers. Stone axe heads like this were commonly used by Native Americans and early settlers for a variety of tasks, such as chopping wood, shaping wooden tools, and even in construction. These tools were essential for daily life, as they provided a versatile and durable means for working with wood and other materials. I found a small metallic piece around 4 to 5 centimeters, heavily rusted, in a river in central France. It looks quite old, and I'm curious about its purpose or origin. Can anyone help identify what this might be? This is a head tube plaque from the Ajax cycle brand. Cycles with this logo were manufactured in the town of Albert, located in the Somme region of France from 1906 to 1913, just before World War I. In 1915, both the factory and the town were nearly destroyed by German artillery fire. The Battle of the Somme, which took place a year later, resulted in nearly 1 million casualties. My father found this old hand tool, which is about 6 inches long from the handle to the head. The tool isn't sharp, and it has a ball at the back that's flattened, resembling the face of a hammer. The handle is made of wood and seems to be original. It has no moving parts, and the metal part is relatively thin, around 1/8 inch thick. My father has had it for at least 50 years, but doesn't know what it is or where he found it. Does anyone know what this could be? The tool your father found is a bladed ice chipper. A patent for this type of tool was registered by Ethan Rogers in 1885. The way it was used involved placing the blade against the ice and then hitting the flattened metal ball at the back with a hammer or mallet. This tool was most likely used to break up large blocks of ice before commercial refrigeration became widely available. Ice chippers like this were common in the 19th and early 20th centuries, especially when ice was harvested from frozen lakes and rivers and stored in ice houses for later use in homes and businesses. I found this heavy object, about 18 inches long, in my yard on Cape Cod. It's likely nautical in nature given my location. It weighs around 75 pounds and appears to be very old. The rust suggests it might be cast iron, but the green patina also makes me think it could be bronze. I haven't cleaned it up yet in case it has some value. Does anyone know what this could be? This object is a capstan winch, commonly used on mid-20th century boats. The winch operates manually with a ratcheting mechanism, and it has a slot next to the gypsy head where a bar could be inserted for additional leverage. These winches were essential for handling anchors and other heavy loads, providing a simple but effective way to apply mechanical force without the need for powered equipment. Interestingly, a similar capstan winch was recently sold on eBay for around $1,500, which suggests there could be some value to this item if it's well preserved. I found this tool in an old leather suitcase, which I think might be medical. The tool is 12 centimeters long, and the pincers open when the red top is pushed down. There is a number, 02406CHR, printed on the back of the old card container. The suitcase is small and has various small pockets, supporting my belief that it is medical. The instrument appears to be made of stainless steel and is in very good condition. Does anyone know what this could be? What you have is an olive or pickle grabber. This tool is designed to easily pick olives or pickles from jars. When the red top is pushed down, the pincers open, allowing you to grab the desired item from the jar without having to use your fingers. It usually comes with a small hook to hang it off the side of a dish or jar, but it looks like that part might be missing from yours. Hold on just a moment. I really appreciate you watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support means a lot and helps me keep making awesome videos. Now let's get back to the action. I found a box full of these objects in a garage. They look like bullets without shells and were about 9 millimeters in size. Does anyone know what these could be? These look like lead semi-wad cutter bullets. They're probably quite old, as suggested by the discoloration and patina. Modern semi-wad cutters typically have grooves below the shoulder to hold grease, which these seem to lack. A wad cutter is a type of bullet designed specifically for shooting paper targets, usually at close range. Standard round-nosed bullets tend to tear through paper, leaving a ragged hole, but the sharp, flat nose of a wad cutter punches a clean round hole in the paper. This clean hole makes it easier to judge scores more accurately in certain types of target shooting competitions. My dad, who collects tools, was recently given this tool as a gift. It was found in a house that previously belonged to a blacksmith, so it might be related to blacksmithing. Does anyone know what this could be? The tool you have is likely a type of chopper used for cutting plant material. The hole at the top and the concentrated wear on one spot of the blade suggest it was mounted on a stand and designed to pivot up and down. It could have been used for chopping forage beets, corn stalks, or other types of fodder and biomass. However, given the design, it's most likely a sugarcane chopper. These tools were commonly used to cut sugarcane into smaller pieces for easier processing. I found these small plastic figurines buried in my backyard in California, United States. They are about 1 inch tall and depict bald men with mustaches, their hands on their heads, and arrows printed on them. I noticed a small uniform detail or design at the collar, and the figures appear to be wearing shirts, pants, and boots. Does anyone know what these could be? What you found is most likely game pieces from a Monopoly minigame called Monopoly Get Out of Jail, produced by Hasbro in 2009. The design with arrows on their clothing resembles the broad arrow pattern, which was once standard on prison uniforms in the United Kingdom to indicate that the clothing was property of the Crown. This arrow also looks similar to the one on the Go space. I found this solid, slimy object on a beach in Western Australia, right at the waterline. It smells like seaweed, and when I cut it open, it had a goopy interior with algae-like protrusions. Does anyone know what this could be? The object you found is likely a type of marine algae called Codium bursa, or green sea cushion. This algae forms a round, sponge-like structure with a slimy surface and a solid, spongy texture. When cut open, it reveals a jelly-like interior with small, filamentous structures that resemble algae. This type of seaweed typically grows in shallow waters and can often be found washed up on beaches, especially in areas with seagrass and rocky substrates. My sister brought this wooden dachshund back from our grandmother's house after we settled the will. The figure is about 10 inches long from nose to tail. The tail end is removable and the body is hollow. Is this more than just a decoration? This is a hand-painted wooden pencil box produced by the Broadhaven Manufacturing Company in New York during the 1930s. It's relatively rare to find one in such good condition, as these items are often missing a leg, tail, or ear. Given its condition, it could be quite valuable, so you might consider taking it for an appraisal.
My college sent me this metal object about 2 to 3 inches long, and I have no idea what it's for. All freshmen received one this year. It has a small stylus part for your phone, but the rest of it is quite confusing. I've heard theories that it could be a hook or even a pair of fake brass knuckles, but honestly, I'm not sure. Does anyone know what this is supposed to be? What you have is called a germ key. It's a tool designed to help you avoid direct contact with common surfaces like door handles or buttons to reduce the spread of germs. To be truly effective, it should be made of solid brass, as brass has natural antibacterial properties. Viruses and bacteria can't survive on brass surfaces for long, making it a better choice than stainless steel or aluminum, which are less expensive but lack these germ-resistant qualities. This item became popular during the coronavirus pandemic as people sought ways to minimize contact with potentially contaminated surfaces. I found this tool in my grandma's basement while packing up her belongings after she passed away. The tool might be related to bottles, and the red part is made of rubber. My grandma was a colonialist in Congo, so this could possibly be something from there. Does anyone know what this could be? This tool is a milking nipple retractor, designed for adjusting the rubber sleeves on a cow's teats during mechanical milking. In the early days of milking machines, the sleeves used to fit around the cow's teats were not pre-molded, they were simple rubber tubes. To prevent injury to the udder, the end of the rubber sleeve needed to be folded over the stainless steel tube of the milking machine. While this could be done by hand, this tool made the process much easier and safer. The sleeve adjustment was necessary after each milking session, as they were removed for cleaning with hot water. After World War II, pre-molded sleeves became available, making tools like this one obsolete. I found this banknote while sorting through my grandfather's old belongings, and I'm unsure if it's authentic. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. Why does this note resemble a dollar bill but have a denomination in pesos? What type of note is this, and where might it have been used? These are World War II-era banknotes, also known as Mickey Mouse money. During World War II in the Philippines, the occupying Japanese government issued fiat currency in various denominations, known as the Japanese government-issued Philippine peso. This currency was introduced after the Japanese government prohibited the use of guerrilla currency and declared a monopoly on money issuance. Those found with guerrilla notes faced severe penalties. The Japanese-issued currency was often called Mickey Mouse money by some Filipinos. Many survivors recall carrying large amounts of these bills. According to one witness, 75 Mickey Mouse pesos, or about $35 at that time, were needed to buy just one duck egg. In 1944, a box of matches cost more than 100 Mickey Mouse pesos. I came across this item from the 1950s at an estate sale. It has a solid wooden handle and several circular metal components attached. It was identified as a can opener, but it features a small wheel with a sharp edge, similar to those used for cutting glass. The larger wheels seem to be stuck, possibly due to rust, and there are no markings on either the metal or the wooden handle. Can anyone identify what this tool might be? This tool is a knife sharpener and glass cutter from the 1940s. To use it, place the knife on a flat surface and draw the sharpener at a 45-degree angle over the knife several times. If the discs become dull and no longer sharpen effectively, you can move each disc around half an inch with pliers to give it new cutting edges. These laid blocks were found in a UK river. Each weighs 125 grams and has symbols or writing on each side. Can anyone positively identify them? These brass blocks are likely related to a Sri Yantra. The Sri Yantra is a sacred geometric design used in Hindu and Buddhist traditions for meditation and rituals. The symbols or markings on the blocks are associated with the sacred geometry. They may have been used for spiritual purposes, perhaps in rituals or as part of a ceremonial set. Such finds are quite rare, and these particular pieces might be worth a significant amount of money. I found these 4-inch by 4-inch scissors in an abandoned school in the US. They're uncomfortable to hold, whether using 2 or 4 fingers. Does anyone know what they are used for? What you found are training scissors for left-handed children. These scissors were specifically designed to help young left-handed individuals learn how to cut properly. The extra holes in the handles are intended so that a grown-up can use the scissors together with the child. This design allows the adult to control the scissors along with the child, ensuring safety and helping them develop the correct technique.
These types of scissors were commonly used in educational settings to assist children in mastering fine motor skills. I recently moved to a new apartment in Bosnia and Herzegovina and found this object in the living room. It has a diameter of about half a meter. Can anyone help identify what this item might be? This is a Turkish copper brazier, commonly used by nomadic peoples of the Middle East for heating and cooking when an open fire cannot be maintained inside a tent. Instead, charcoal is burned in this specially designed brazier, which contains the fire and radiates heat. The device is compact and usually simply decorated, with a short base. It is known as a Suleiman brazier. It is claimed that the brazier was first used by the Arabs, as the Turkish mangal comes from the Arabic mankal. The oldest braziers originated in Anatolia, while the most advanced forms were made in Istanbul, a significant cultural and artistic center during the Ottoman period. Typically, they are made of copper or brass, with brass being an alloy of copper and zinc, and its yellow color contrasts with the red of the copper. Got this $2 bill in a tip jar a few years ago, just found it when moving. Does anyone know anything about why it's so decorated? This bill is part of the Danbury Mint's United States Enhanced $2 bill collection. It features full-color artwork and is decorated with stunning images representing your home state or territory. These bills are legal tender, meaning they can be used as currency, although they are often collected more for their decorative value than for everyday transactions. My boyfriend found this metal-like object in his backyard. There's nothing on the back of it. His house used to be a carriage house in the early 1900s. The object appears to be silver-plated with copper underneath and was found in Massachusetts, USA. Can anyone help identify what this might be? The object you found is likely a hubcap for a carriage wheel. A hubcap is a decorative disc that covers the central part of the wheel, known as the hub. Its main purpose is to protect the wheel hub and fasteners from dirt and moisture, while also serving a decorative function. This type of hubcap was commonly used on carriages to enhance their appearance. What is this? It was labeled as a xylophone. I bought it for $9 at an antique store and thought it would make a cool coffee table. I haven't seen anything like it before, so I'm not sure if it was labeled correctly. I also made a short video to show how this instrument sounds. Can anyone help identify what this might actually be? The item you have is actually a wooden tongue drum, not a xylophone. A wooden tongue drum, also known as a handpan or tank drum, consists of a metal or wooden shell with several tuned tongues that produce melodic sounds when struck. These drums are used for musical performances and have a distinct, resonant tone. They are often used in meditation and relaxation due to their calming sound. It's a unique and artistic piece that can certainly make a fascinating coffee table. I found this item in my aunt's treasure collection. It appears to have a heavy metal weight inside and is quite heavy, similar to a paperweight. The object inside seems to be solid metal, while the exterior is hard and likely made of resin. Can anyone help identify what this item might be? The item you found is likely a tracker pebble and used by environmental agencies to monitor coastal drift. These pebbles, which are often encased in hard resin, have a serial number and are buried at specific locations along the coast. They are later recovered further down the shore using metal detectors. The metal coil you mentioned is part of this tracking process. This method helps researchers track how coastal sediments move over time. The information about this practice was confirmed through a conversation with a warden at Burling Gap, where there was a display on beach finds. While doing yard work with my parents, we found this giant concrete square, about 5 by 5 feet, with a sign in the middle that reads, "Do not enter poison gas." Our house was built in 1988 and has its own sewer system. What could this be? What you found is likely a septic tank. Septic tanks are underground chambers made of concrete, fiberglass, or plastic, designed for basic sewage treatment. They handle domestic wastewater. These tanks can accumulate hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic. It is crucial to avoid entering or tampering with these structures without proper precautions.
Last night, while I was fishing for flathead catfish, I dragged in this strange PVC contraption. I found it at the bottom of a small lake in northern Michigan. about 50 meters out and 25 feet down. It has a diameter of about 5 feet. It appears to be a homemade or custom-built structure, possibly used for some sort of aquatic activity or research. Does anyone have any idea what this could be?
What you found is an artificial fish attractor. These structures are designed to attract larger fish to a specific area, making it easier for fishermen to catch them. They're usually made from PVC pipes and other materials that create an open, see-through design. The primary purpose of these fish attractors is to provide temporary cover for fish, encouraging them to congregate in a designated spot. Fish feel comfortable using these structures as they transition between different areas of the lake. When placed and designed correctly, these attractors can significantly improve fishing success by drawing the desired species to a convenient location for anglers.
I found a small glass vial containing a clear liquid and a dark, solid object. It has survived many -40-degree winters. The dark object clanks against the glass, almost as if it were glass itself. The box it came in says Eclipse Pioneer Division of Bendix Aviation Corporation. Does anyone have an idea what this could be?
What you found is a component from a turn and slip indicator, a crucial instrument used in aviation. These instruments help pilots maintain the correct orientation and balance of an aircraft. The vial with the clear liquid and dark object is part of the mechanism that measures the turn rate and slip of the aircraft. The liquid usually acts as a damping fluid to ensure accurate readings, while the dark object is part of the internal mechanism that moves in response to the aircraft's movements.
I found this brass piece with a dull blade, a hollow handle, and balls on top. It seems quite unique, but I'm not sure what it was used for. Does anyone have any idea what it could be?
What you found is a bosun's call, also known as a bosun's whistle. This device has been used in maritime settings for centuries, primarily by ships' bosuns. Historically, the bosun's call was used to pass commands to the crew when the voice could not be heard over the sounds of the sea. Because of its high pitch, it could be heard over the activities of the crew and bad weather. The dull blade you mentioned is actually a feature of the call used to create sound. The hollow handle helps amplify the whistle's sound, and the balls on top are part of the mechanism that helps produce the distinctive tone. These calls were crucial for communicating between crew members, especially during maneuvers or in adverse weather conditions.
While cleaning out my family's old belongings, I found a heavy brass circle with 7 numbered removable plugs, each one slightly bigger than the last. It has the name Townley engraved on it, which I assume is the maker. This intriguing piece was discovered on the Isle of Man and has been passed down through our family over the years. Does anyone know what this could be?
What you found are probably 7 round brass scale weights in a brass holder stand. These kinds of weights were used to balance scales and make sure measurements were accurate in 1900s England. We don't know exactly when they were made, but they definitely match the style and function of weights from that era. Each weight fits neatly into the holder, keeping them organized and easy to use. The name Townley engraved on it is likely the manufacturer's mark.
I stumbled upon these curious pieces in a charity shop in Margate, UK. They feel solid, made of china or pottery, so they're fairly light but not overly strong. Each one has a flat base on the bottom bulb with no holes that I could see, and no clues on the box either.
What you found are chopstick pillows, also known as hashioki. These small items are used in Japanese cuisine to rest chopsticks on when they are not in use, keeping the eating ends clean and off the table. Hashioki date back to the Edo period 1603 to 1868 and are a staple in traditional Japanese table settings. They can be made from various materials including porcelain, pottery, wood, and even metal. Often beautifully crafted and sometimes decorated with intricate designs, hashioki are both functional and decorative, adding an elegant touch to the dining experience.
While taking a walk along a remote beach in Northern California, I stumbled upon a rusted-out cylinder. It's about 9 feet in diameter and a similar length. The cylinder has a lot of features and internal spars, making me think it might be from a shipwreck. Despite my best guesses, I'm at a loss for what this could be used for. Does anyone know what this might be?
What you found is a steam boiler, specifically one used for burning coal. These boilers were a critical component of steamships,
providing the necessary steam to power the engines. The internal spars and features you noticed are likely part of the boiler's structure, designed to contain and transfer the intense heat generated by the burning coal. Boilers like this were commonly used during the height of steam-powered transportation in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Given its location, it's probable that this boiler is from a wrecked steamship, now a relic of maritime history. One day, I stumbled upon this intriguing object while sorting through my grandmother's old belongings. It's been with me for a while now, but I still have no idea what it is. It's solid metal with a small scoop at the end, like a tiny spoon. Does anyone know what this might be? What you found is an earwax spoon, also known as an ear pick or ear scoop. These tools have been used for centuries to clean the ear canal of earwax. They are especially common in East Asia, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, where people tend to produce more earwax. Traditionally, ear picks in Asia were made from bamboo or precious metals such as silver or gold. In medieval times, they were often adorned with intricate designs and gemstones. Today, they are commonly made from materials like stainless steel or plastic. While walking along a public beach, I happened to step on a small, unusual object partially buried in the sand. It's a capsule, about 2 inches in diameter, with an orange part that can be unscrewed. Inside, there seems to be something like paper or rubber. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a luminous night float with LED lighting. These devices are commonly used for night fishing, as many fish species are active during the night. This float doesn't just glow, it automatically signals when a fish bites. In its upright position and at rest, the float emits a green light. This green light remains when the float is bobbing on the waves or when a fish is merely nibbling at the bait. However, once a fish is hooked, the float changes to a red light. Thanks to its fiber optic construction, the float doesn't create a glowing halo around it, making it highly effective for night fishing. When I was visiting my relatives, they showed me a set of colored ceramic rings with small handles that they received as a gift some time ago. They have no idea what these are for, and neither do I. Can anyone help identify these? This is a ring spoon rest stand. These stands are used to keep your guests' spoons or chopsticks from touching the table for sanitary reasons. They are usually used during meals, not cooking, but why not? The ceramic material makes them easy to use and clean, and they add charm to your dining setup. Additionally, you can place an egg on them to make it easier to eat. In your case, these stands are shaped like rings, but stands without holes are also commonly used.
I found this capsule among my grandfather's things. What could it be? Made of metal? Very light, so maybe aluminum? The spoon or shovel is not adhered to the main unit, perhaps to be removed for use. I didn't try too hard to open it, especially since we're not sure what could be in it, but it looks like it could be opened. Maybe it's a waterproof capsule for storing matches or other items.
This is a carrier pigeon capsule. Such capsules were used during the First and Second World Wars. Pigeons carried coded messages. They could quickly fly up and out of range and be relied upon when all other communication had failed. 95% of pigeon messages were received. During World War I and World War II, carrier pigeons were used to transport messages back to their home coop behind the lines. When they landed, wires in the coop would sound a bell or buzzer, and a soldier of the Signal Corps would know a message had arrived. The soldier would go to the coop, remove the message from the canister, and send it to its destination by telegraph, field phone, or personal messenger. During World War II, the pigeon G.I. Joe was able to deliver a message, preventing the bombing of a captured village and thus saving over 100 lives. Another pigeon named Paddy was an Irish carrier pigeon, awarded the Dickon Medal after being the fastest pigeon to arrive back in England with news of the success of the Battle of Normandy invasion out of hundreds dispatched.
This was found in the laundry basket after he came back home from a weekend away. We are both completely stumped, but he says he has no idea where it came from. It threads pretty tight, and I'm assuming it seals. Doesn't weigh much, and the cavity seems to be too small to hold much of anything. Do you have any ideas what this is?
The Celtic Memorial Cross, Ash Holder Locket. 24-inch necklace is an ornament that is often used to remember and keep the memory of departed loved ones close to the heart. This pendant necklace typically contains a small container in which a symbolic amount of the deceased's ashes or a small personal memento can be placed. It can be made from various materials such as silver, gold, or other metals, and may be adorned with Celtic patterns and symbols.
What's this thing? I found it in a creek bed I explored yesterday. It weighs 17.8 pounds and is 5 inches in diameter. I found it in Kentucky. Any idea what it could be?
This is a solid shot cannonball from an 18-pounder black powder muzzle-loading cannon. The bore of these cannons was 5.14 inches, and the cannonballs themselves were slightly over 5 inches in diameter, weighing between 17.12 and 18.14 pounds, depending on quality control. During the Civil War, both sides used 18-pounders, which were initially naval cannons mounted on field carriages. Later in the war, they were replaced by purpose-built field artillery. The French and British also employed 18-pounders in the 18th century.
While skiing in the Alps, I found several strange capsules buried in the snow. They're about 1.80 meters tall and look like they're made of plastic or something similar. Any idea what they could be?
These are Obel-X avalanche mitigation pods. They're designed to prevent avalanches by creating controlled explosions. Each pod contains tanks of hydrogen and oxygen, which are combined to produce small explosions that help stabilize snow and prevent larger, more dangerous avalanches. Each pod costs around $120,000, but this investment is made for increased safety and efficiency in avalanche control.
While clearing out a rental unit, I came across a peculiar wooden item. It's about 5 feet wide and 30 inches high, and it has no markings or writing on it. I'm really puzzled about what it could be used for or where it came from. If anyone has any ideas or has seen something like this before.
This is a wooden flax brake, a tool used in the 19th century to process flax fibers. Also known as a scutching brake or simply a brake, it was designed to separate the outer woody part of the flax plant from the inner fibers in a process called retting. The flax brake typically has hinged wooden blades, sometimes with metal teeth or blades, all set within a wooden frame.
Last weekend, I was walking through the woods with my son when we came across something interesting. We found an old industrial drum or gear made of iron and cement, with large, coarse teeth on it. It's quite big, and we're curious about its purpose. Does anyone have an idea what this gear might have been used for?
What you found is likely a Hollander beater. This machine was developed by the Dutch in 1680 and was essential in the papermaking process. It was used to produce paper pulp from plant fibers. Before the Hollander beater, making paper pulp was a slow process with stamp mills, which could only produce a small amount of pulp each day. The Hollander beater revolutionized this by being able to produce the same amount of pulp in just one day that a stamp mill would need 8 days to make. It works by beating and refining the plant fibers to create a smooth and consistent pulp, which is crucial for making high-quality paper.
I found this blue disc in a packet of sour cream crisps. It has the words Ferris 25mm BST, cert number 213026B on it. Do you have any ideas what this is?
This is a testing chip used to check metal detectors in food production lines. It's designed to simulate a foreign object to ensure the detectors are working correctly. You send a certain number of these chips through the system and expect to get the same number back. If you receive fewer chips, the production line stops until the missing chip is found. There should be documentation for these tests. Contact the company and report what you found, as this will likely trigger a serious investigation. This is a critical part of HACCP food safety protocols required by the FDA. Not recording a missing chip could result in significant fines due to falsified records.
While cleaning out my grandmother's attic, I found this metal object with no text or numbers on it. It has a gate-like mechanism and can retract to be the size of a bracelet. It was hidden in an old trunk with other vintage items. I can't figure out exactly what it is or how it was used. Does anyone know more about this?
This intriguing find is a vintage expandable gate purse frame, a fascinating relic from the past. These purse frames were commonly used in the early to mid-20th century, allowing women to create stylish and functional handbags. The frame is made of durable metal designed to open and close smoothly, providing a secure closure for the purse. The gate mechanism refers to the expandable nature of the frame, which can adjust to fit different sizes of fabric or leather. The origins of the expandable gate purse frame trace back to a time when personal accessories were both practical and a statement of style. Women often personalize their purses by attaching unique fabrics and decorations to these frames, reflecting their individual tastes and the fashion trends of the era.
Found this small kettle years ago. Tried searching for a similar one, but have always come up with nothing. Anybody have an idea why this has this unique shape? Wallet for scale.
This item is a portable men's urinal, commonly used for bed-bound patients who are unable to access a bathroom. These urinals are typically made from durable plastic, but they can also be found in stainless steel or other easy-to-clean materials. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.